In this last section of Chapter 8, we will continue on and talk about oops, I'm sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that. There's something weird on my computer. But either way, this section, this is the last video, we'll talk about the importance of interactivity and how media has helped us do that, as well as new media marketing. And so let's dive into it. Interactivity is also known as customizability. If a person has the ability to interact with a brand, they're more likely to be able to customize their experience, their own desires and needs. We know that through research. When customers have options, or they want options, and when they get their options, they'll be more likely to be satisfied with the purchase experience. We know that when they're more satisfied, they're more likely to repurchase that product in the future. So having customized options is important, and we can do that most of the time through technology, whether it be applications or through websites. So consumers are now able to mix and match their options to best fit their specific needs. Consumers are able to do this because marketers have been given them the ability and are able to frame those messages in a way that give consumers the desires they want. So I'm going to talk about a couple examples here, starting first with retailers, so from a goods standpoint, and then from a team standpoint. How have we used customizability and interactivity to be able to achieve the goals of an organization? So here's an example looking at Nike ID first. Nike ID, many of you maybe have used. I personally have not. I've used Adidas, which I'll talk about in a second, to create a customized shoe. But Nike ID is essentially the same thing as Me Adidas, but what they do is gives you the ability to choose a shoe, change the colors of the laces of the shoe, change the logo color, the soles of the shoe. It gives you the ability to create your own shoe. So here's an example. I picked a shoe just randomly and created a SFA style shoe where you've got purple, white, and a little red in there too with the old logo. But the point is I created a shoe. No other shoe is like that. If I can say that my shoe is unique to me, I have a sense of ownership utility, we talked about in the last chapter, and therefore I'm going to have a hopefully a better experience because I'm the one that created it. If I'm upset with the way it looks, then it's my fault, and therefore I likely won't blame the company. Me Adidas is another example. In this circumstance, you can change what Me Adidas does. You can see in the right picture here is be able to have some nationalism involved in this. Put the country's flag on the shoe. But remember, if we talked about the importance of understanding cultural differences by putting flags on shoes and shoes being seen as being dirty, could be in certain cultures, could be a negative impact. But nonetheless, there are things that you can do to customize the experience. Rawlings is another example. Rawlings baseball gloves. If I want to go on and buy a glove, I can customize several things about it. The color of the leather, the color of the webbing, the type of webbing, the finger hole, whether it's open or single hole. I can put my initials, the lacing, what color is the lacing, all of these things, and then I can create a glove based on my position. And so all of these things give us the ability. The customization is endless when we talk about sporting goods. Now let's talk about season tickets. This is from a team's perspective. This is just an example of what the Rangers did several years ago with the Fan Choice 20. Essentially what you can do is buy a package of 20 games. They've named them the Terrific 20, All-American 20, Weekend 20, Business 20. Essentially it's 20 games that are customized to that type of person. Or if you want to choose your own 20, pick the 20 games you want, and then they'll give you a price for those games. Typically, depends on the organization as whether or not they charge a premium for it, but that's an example. Another ways that we use the customization through technology is interactive maps or virtual seating. So if I've never been to, for example, a Pacers game, yet I'm taking a client out, or I'm potentially buying season tickets to take multiple clients out, and I want to buy that seat, but I've never sat in it before, and there's certain characteristics. I want to be close to a certain concession stand or an entryway or a club seating area. I can sit in that seat, do a 360 view of that seat so that I can better understand it before I purchase it. So it gives salespeople a better way to sell their products. Also, from an interactive standpoint, this is a picture of my wife and I at a 2011 World Cup game. I think I mentioned in the first chapter of this class. But one thing that we did was when I got there, I took a group of students and we were asked by a German news outlet to take a cell phone and tweet our experience. So essentially, they gave us a phone, and then on the other side of the field was the French fans, and they got a French fan to do the same thing because we were playing France. We were able to tweet about the game. Use of smartphones is another way that you can be interactive with consumers. Revenue streams, so through apps, the ability to order food at your seat, content sources, so through Twitter and Facebook, and interactivity is the example I gave you here. So let's talk about new media marketing. One thing that we want to be aware of is that new media marketing basically gives us the opportunity for reaching the exclusive fan. There's a book out called The Elusive Fan. The Elusive Fan is essentially says that consumers are always being drawn here and there, moving from one thing to another. We're trying to capture their interest, yet there's so many marketing messages out there. How can we as sports marketers try to drive our consumers to our brand? And so sports marketers have becoming basically social networking sources, traffic controllers. How do we listen to conversations on social media and try to drive the message, positive message about our brand, especially in sports organizations that have to deal with losses, so losing seasons? How do we market to them? Word of mouth is now electronic word of mouth. WM stands for word of mouth. E-word of mouth, which is electronic word of mouth, refers to the sharing of sentiments about products and experiences that are unique to the context of social media. Sports marketers have to give consumers voice, but also control what they're talking about as much as possible. Which leads us basically to understanding, going back to our idea of relationship marketing. New media causes changes in how we develop relationship marketing tactics. Fans are becoming more proactive in their media consumption. And so one thing we have to do is try to build relationships through social media and interactivity. Another concern in new media marketing is sponsorship and an idea of ambush marketing. Ambush marketing is essentially when a brand tries to associate itself with a sporting activity or team, an event, for example, without paying for the rights to be a part of or an official sponsor. Good example is in the World Cup in 2014, I believe. If I got my date right, I believe that's correct. 2014. Anyway, the official Olympic partner for the World Cup was Adidas. However, after doing research, they found that Nike was the most identified sponsor for the World Cup. However, Nike was not a sponsor at all. People associated with athletes, and so Nike, whether you're saying they use ambush marketing or not, was able to get a market share of the World Cup without actually paying for the rights to do that. Okay. Another example is when we talk about new media marketing, is 58% of those viewing a sporting event on television are also using mobile devices for instant messaging, emailing, text messaging, or talking. Essentially, it's this idea of the second or third screen. While I'm watching the sporting event, I'm using another device, so a tablet or another screen, and a computer and a phone, and all of it at the same time to consume either that activity. So understanding, let's say, fantasy sports. I'm watching a game on TV while tracking individual players in another game on my phone, while on my tablet I've got another game up, or listening to an audio or a blog, reading a blog about the game or about the player. Okay, we have to deal with that as marketers. Non-sponsoring brands are now also trying to attempt to associate themselves with the main event through uncontrollable media or uncontrolled media through social media and the like. So new media marketing is a great thing for us, gives us a lot of tools as marketers, but it also it gives us things we have to manage that external environment.